Les, thanks for joining me. First of all, I'm PK, by the way, so I'm really new to the whole running game. I only started running about just over 18 months ago, but I've got the bug. You know, Barclays had a lot to do with that when a crazy friend of mine shared the Netflix documentary, and here we are. I mean, this was interviewing Laz on Zoom was and troubleshooting with him was not on my bingo card for 2026.
You would think the Barkley documentary would run people away and not draw them in.
Why do you think it does draw people in?
I have no idea. A lot of them it draws in because they don't really grasp how bad that it can be.
So let's kind of wind it back a bit though. When people watch this, if they don't know who you are, how do you explain who you are when you meet people?
I'm just an old hillbilly who lives in the woods.
Who comes up with crazy ideas like the Barkley and backyard ultras and lots of other crazy ideas too. Why do you deliberately make difficult events?
Because for a certain segment of the population, they're fun. It's and I enjoy them. I like the human experiment of seeing how people can just do the most amazing things and what makes them tick. There's nothing quite like doing something that you didn't believe you could do, especially if much of the time you're doing it, you can't believe you did it. We just finished the third Circle of Hell race. They had 11 days to go 420 miles, which I think is around 690 kilometers, which is really far. They crossed, like 20-something high mountains, 27 mountain passes, and then finished by being dumped in the woods.
So is this some sort of weird social experiment for you?
Is there a problem with human experimentation? All of life is an experiment. You're always wanting to know how things work and what the nature of things is, and learning about humans and how they deal with problems, because this difficulty in the woods didn't relate to like the caliber of the athlete. Really good people who are very strong in this unfamiliar situation fell into. Now it's a matter of figuring out what part of the human brain is that makes you, because that you start going in all directions, because you're not going to get anywhere. And I guess at some point early on, I learned in the woods, if the worst comes to worst, you figure out the track that will get you to something. And you go continuously, and everything in your power is to try and not to diverge from that track. Pick a landmark and walk to that, and then pick one that's in line with that one. Anything to make sure you don't diverge. But the people lost their nerve, and they just started going back and forth. And now there were some that I would consider they're competent in the woods. They got to the really bad stuff, and you could see their track would go back and forth because they were thinking there has to be a better path. But once they figured out, no, it's all like this, then they just do it, just get it done.
So what about, obviously you do a lot of different events, there's different things that you're going to learn, but for someone that doesn't actually know what a backyard ultra is, can you explain what a backyard ultra is for someone watching this maybe and have never heard of the thing?
I don't know if I can exactly explain it. It's a loop that is easily doable within an hour. It's just a little over 4 miles, which is just slightly under 15 minutes a mile pace. And most people can do it with time to spare. And it really, in its essence, a backyard is a mental game. Your body can actually do that almost indefinitely. People like Phil have kind of proven that. But it's not it's easy until it's not. And when it suddenly becomes not easy, it becomes very hard. But the hardest part is walking to the starting line every hour. We always say here that the biggest hill on our course is between your chair and the starting corral, because that's the hill that takes the most people out. So people like to toy with the format, but I really like it in its purest form, where you make the course as easy as possible so that the entire struggle is up here.
Has it evolved how you expected?
No, not really. The mind games and the competition at the front and what goes on when you get down to a handful of people and someone will win and someone will lose, that was kind of expected. I did not expect that just by accident is stumbled upon a formula for running distance where that if you've been around it, you've seen virtually everybody can cover distances they never dreamed they could cover. In terms of the multi-day runs, the number of people doing 200 miles in 48 hours, or I think at this point, more people have run 300 miles in 72 hours than in all the history of multi-day running combined, just in the backyard. Of course, we're still our competitive year goes from August 16th to August 15th. So we just finished a year's worth of races and we're still compiling the results. It looks like we'll probably have 4,400 to 4,500 people do 24-hour hundreds in a year. And a lot of them have never done a 24-hour 100 in any other venue. It's really, it's well suited.
Well,
and then the social aspects. I knew it would be social because runners like to socialize and you're putting them all together every hour. But that it would be the satisfaction of accomplishing personal goals. We kind of replaced the age group awards, which is to distribute more awards. Instead is the bell when you run the furthest you've ever run. It's like the age group awards, except the same person doesn't win every week. It's everybody can ring the bell. And of course, when they ring the bell, everyone that's still there recognizes it. It's turned out to be a really good venue for people that are just beginning, people that are not that confident, people that are slow. Whereas in a normal ultra, that person who is extremely slow is ultimately out there all by themselves and they drag in and everyone's gone home. In the backyard, that's the winner. And so you can take chances and try things that are more without that human feeling that you're on display, because you just kind of fade in with the whole crowd while you're running your own race and trying for your own goals. So yeah, it's developed into something much different than I expected.
So what about Phil? What are your impressions of Phil, and what makes him so good at this format?
The same thing that made Harvey Lewis before him, who was the dominant guy, and Johan Stana, the Swede, who was dominant for so long. Their mental game is just out of sight. It is a mental game. He is able to reach down and find a place where that he can just keep walking to the line. If he had been a gifted swimmer, he'd have been what is the guy Michael, whatever it is, that won all the gold medals.
Yeah.
Or if he'd been faster than he is, he would have been, a fast marathoner. He would have been, of course, go back to my age, a Frank Shorter. There's different parts that make a great athlete, and one of the key parts is their mind. But you have to have the physical tools. You're limited by what your physical tools will do. Phil is a good enough runner, and with that champion mental game, he's a tough nut to crack.
Do you think he knows his limit?
You know what? Great athletes never think they have a limit. He doesn't think he'll get old either, but when you're by the time you've been around sports for 70 years, one thing you realize is when that hot new talent comes along, the first thing that goes through my mind is, well, the clock is ticking.
Well, in backyards, though, that clock ticks much slower.
The clock ticks much slower because it's not as physically demanding. It's more mentally demanding. And we haven't yet seen the young guy. I guess Sam, the New Zealander, Sam Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the closest ones you'll see to the young gun that comes out and just lights it up.
Mark Dowdle, of course, last Seoul Ultra. That was a pretty incredible performance as well, knocking on the door of 100 yards now. Numbers that are diabolical.
It is amazing what people can do. But that's also something about humans. They are always able to push it a little further. And in this case, when it comes down to a matter of just covering vast distances, that's our superpower. That's what we do better than all the other animals. We can't jump like other animals can jump. We can't climb like they can climb. We can't run as fast as they can run, but we are designed to go unbelievable distances.
Well, now we're faced with Phil attempting to run 168 yards in 168 hours. So 7 days based on the Backyard Ultra format, just without an assist. So 700 miles, 1,127 kilometres. The entire thing's going to be live streamed. He's doing it to raise money for a charity called Telethon, which is a local charity that helps sick and disadvantaged kids. What was your initial reaction when you heard about his plan?
Well, it's not a backyard. What he's doing is he's recognized this format is really well devised for covering vast distances. So he's making use of the structure. I think he's going to have pacers to go with him along the way to help out, which should be a monstrous advantage as opposed to the only other guy out there you're competing with. And he's motivated by his charity. It's a distance that I think is probably within the realm of how far we can go. I mean, backyard records are changing fast enough right now that I don't think we've really nudged up against that point where that it's almost impossible to get another yard. It's a long setup because you have to be able to focus and do your job and not get excited and stay calm, take care you don't hurt yourself, that you don't mess up the critical part of the backyard, probably the most technically critical, is how you use those short rest periods. And then, of course, the personal strategy. How do you approach it? Do you use most of the time running and save your body? Do you run faster and try to make some additional time to rest or to deal with problems that come up? And you have to. I kind of think the best way is you mix it up a little bit. That you run long periods of time at that stable state. Fast laps so you have time enough to make a bathroom stop or patch a blister or change out clothing. It's not just your mental game in terms of the physical, making your physical body do things, but the mental game in terms of knowing what you need to do. So Phil is probably as well equipped as about anybody.
So do you think Project 168 goes against the spirit of a backyard, given it's a solo endeavor, or are you proud that he's kind of taking the format and recognizing this is a way to go far and to raise money for charity? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's not a backyard. It's just using something that we discovered in the world of backyard, that this is a way to cover distance. I don't believe anyone's ever done 700 miles in 7 days. 600 miles in 6 days has been done, but it's very rare. And I don't think it'll be that long before you see the big backyard races hitting 6 days. But to do this as a, and when you're doing it as a solo run, it's more of a Guinness Book record type of thing as opposed to a competitive record, which at this point, I just observe all these things and with interest and don't really have there's not anything absolutely right or absolutely wrong. I think his inspiration by his charity is an admirable thing, and I will be intrigued to see if he can get out there and do 7 days, because really when you take the competitive aspect out of it, it changes the game.
Do you get a kick out of watching, or will you get a kick out of watching Phil use the format to see if he can get to 168?
It'll be fun, and of course, if he does, then the people in competitions will add a new thing to what they think is possible. As the backyard has increased, there was, what do you think, is 50 hours can be done? And 50 hours went. They said, well, do you think someone could do 4 days? What about 100 hours? Is 100 hours possible? And then once somebody does it, then inside the athlete's brain, that's in play. It's not a mystery. They know it can be done. They're sure that they can do it. And they want to get out there to the edge where it's gone to and push it a little further.
So if Phil asked you, hey, Laz, why is this a stupid idea? What would you tell him?
Isn't it all stupid ideas? It may be less stupid than the races, because he does have the motivation of trying to do something that's tangibly good. The money he raises will do more for the world than him getting 168 hours.
You've used endurance events to support causes yourself. Do you think attaching a bigger purpose like a charity to something like this changes how Phil goes about it or how he feels? Or do you think in a challenge so big you become detached from that reason?
Yeah, I think it being a solo run instead of a competition will change how it is for Phil. But how that'll work out, we won't know until we see him do it. It's the nature is so different. When you're in competition, you're competing. And now he's trying to accomplish a goal. And when I think about it in terms of how the backyard is, the big backyards, they go forever, the championship, elite level races, you have to find a place to put your mind through a lot of hours of discomfort before you get into the meat of the actual head-to-head competition. When you see, okay, now there's only the big dogs left, and we find out which dog is bigger, which one has more bite, which one has more bark. And I think that preliminary mentality, and just to project how it would be, I would think he's going to have to extend that maybe all the way out, because I could motivate by wanting to beat that Kavist guy who just gets under my, he's still here. Although the nature of the backyard, it inherently seems to make people into a team. When you do see the elite runs and they get to the end and it's just me and you, and I decide to quit, your first impulse is going to be to say, you could do one more. And then realize, of course, wait a minute, I can't stop until that bastard stops.
Sport. So I question kind of on the peripheral, but why do people need challenges like your events that they might actually fail, or in some cases that they're almost certain they will fail? Why do people need those?
I like to always have the next goal. Now, I'm not as attracted to ones where I'm probably going to fail, but I like to work hard to do something. My long walks that I do, because I can't really do anything competitive anymore. But those are generally set up where I don't know I'll make it. I think I can. It gives me a lot of motivation if everybody else thinks I can't do it. That 2 mile stretch at the end of the race, I went out and did it and put out the markings. Now, the youth movement, Carl, has been doing a lot of the more difficult markings at the Barkley and stuff like this, because, man, I'm really bad on hills now, or in the mountains. But when I told him I was going to mark it, he kind of scoffed. I could see he actually didn't think I could do it. And yeah, that kind of sealed it. Oh, we're back.
We're back. We're back.
It came up with a screen for me that said, your meeting is over.
I just quit on you halfway through.
Oh, I thought we timed out. So I sent an email and said, I guess we failed to watch the time.
And I've got my eye on the time. I reckon we've still got another couple of minutes, but I obviously I'm cognizant of your time. I know you're busy. Really appreciate you joining and having a chat. So just to finish up on what we were just talking about, tell me, what is the most surprising thing that you've learned from backyard ultras, either from elites or beginners or whoever? What's one thing that you took home and it really resonated?
The most, as this out of nowhere, this race in my backyard, literally in my backyard, has developed into a real world championship. When you have 75 people in the yard, or really 150 with the crews, and they're talking 30 languages, and everybody gets along. Everybody is like they're on the same team, even though they're trying to win. Oh, have I lost you, or you lost me?
Still hear you, but the video's frozen, so that works. Oh, I've got you back now.
Okay. Well, if one person has something or needs something and someone else has it, they all have it. If one person has something, it's available to everyone. The crews band together and help each other and make sure the athletes are taken care of. When people do drop, they're apt to roll over and become a crew for another runner. There's a we really, in the backyard championships, and I guess in most of the backyards I've been at, we really show what humans are capable of being, who we can be. You have some 30 different languages, little interpreter cues form up where that, yeah, I can't speak Australian, but I could speak Polish, and I know there's a guy in the Polish camp that speaks Australian. And so everybody can communicate with everyone else a little bit. Or one spoke Japanese, but there was a media guy who spoke Japanese and he was pressed into service. Now he helps them communicate with everyone else.
Finally, what message would you like to send Phil about this event, and also to the team that he's assembled to be a part of it?
It's all about going to the starting line. Just do one more. There is not a message I can give to Phil. He's as good as there is. Hopefully there's some new faces that have popped up that are up there in his range, and we will look forward in about 14 months. We should have them all on the same field again. And when you get a bunch of people, athletes together who never lose, and you know that all but one of them have to, it's always interesting.
Oh, Les, thanks so much for coming on. I want to personally thank you as well, because I'm one of those people that never believed it was possible to run distances like I run now. And, you know, I recognize that the sport, not so long ago, you used to actually, didn't you send a message to people that actually achieved 24 hours? I'm sure that's not on your agenda anymore.
Yeah, not as it gets close to 5,000 people a year. That's oh, it's crazy. It's like 100 a week. But you're running backyards?
I am, yeah, love them. So 27's my PB. I've done 2. I'm addicted. It's the greatest thing in the world.
It's amazing how far you can go and how fast over time. I mean, because you'll also know other people that do hundreds, and to done one under 24, that puts you pretty high up the list.
Around with people now that have normalized the ridiculous.
I don't know. My kids grew up thinking this kind of behavior was normal. I like to tell the story that in the 3rd grade, my son came home from school and he said, "You know what? I don't think anybody else's daddy can even run 100 miles." It's like in his mind, he knew not everybody ran really far, but at least 100. No, that was his introduction. That is not considered normal.